It's 8 o'clock. This is the UK Tonight. Coming up, pushed before he could jump. Robert Jenrick switches to reform on an astonishing day in British politics. Jenrick was sacked from the shadow cabinet this morning for plotting the very defection that we would see just a few hours later. The former favourite to be the next Tory leader, accusing his former party of betraying their principles.
I can't, in good conscience, stick with a party that's failed so badly, that isn't sorry, that hasn't changed.
Rob is clearly a problem, but he's not my problem. He's Nigel Farage's problem now.
There's nothing more to be said or to be done. You've handed me on a plate the man that is by far the most popular figure.
Coming up, the latest reaction from Westminster, and we'll discuss whether the right has been realigned. Also tonight, the bereaved parents taking their fight with TikTok to the United States. We've been speaking to 5 parents who say their children died after attempting dangerous challenges they saw online. And they blame the social media giant's algorithms for amplifying harmful content. Plus, armed police and marauding gunmen, we go on board a cross-channel ferry as the security services practice their response to a simulated terror attack. And West Yorkshire's wonder of the world. We will visit the nature reserve that has achieved global fame thanks to a major travel magazine. All that's come and much more on the UK Tonight. Well, it was a day that began with a shock dismissal and concluded with what was, in the end, a very unsurprising defection. The former Shadow Justice Secretary, Robert Jenrick, is now a Reform UK MP after his early morning sacking. His old boss, Kemi Badenoch, says he's Nigel Farage's problem now, but Nigel Farage thanked the Tory leader, saying she was helping to realign British politics. Coming up, we discuss the battle to shape the future of the right and ask if Kemi Badenoch is actually in a stronger position now than she was first thing this morning. But first, our political editor, Beth Rigby, has this report.
Nigel Farage in Fife, here to unveil Reform's new Scottish leader, but finding himself in the middle of a very different story indeed. Look at this, the moment his aide tells his boss about this bombshell.
This morning, I removed the Conservative whip from Robert Jenrick after dismissing him from the shadow cabinet. I was very sorry to be presented with clear, irrefutable evidence, not just that he was preparing to defect, but he was planning to do so in the most damaging way possible to the Conservative Party and his shadow cabinet colleagues.
So much so.
Badenoch blindsiding 2 of her adversaries as Farage's day in Scotland took an unexpected turn. Mr Farage, just to follow up on the issue of Robert Jenrick, Badenoch has just sacked him from her shadow cabinet, removed the whip and suspended his party membership with immediate effect. Were you planning to unveil him as a new star sign-in to Reform this afternoon in London?
I can confirm, hand on heart, honestly, look you in the eye, I was not going to be unveiling Robert Jenrick at 4:30 this afternoon. I will speak to him this afternoon and see what he wants to do.
The Reform leader making a hasty exit to race back to London, while the Conservative leader made her way to Edinburgh to meet her Scottish counterpart and explain what's been going on.
Rob is clearly a problem, but he's not my problem. He's Nigel Farage's problem now. If all you're interested in is being on TV and being a mini celebrity or getting lots of likes on social media, then the Conservative Party is not for you.
Is that what you felt he was doing?
We are serious, and that's you asked the message for everyone. That's the message I give to people.
I guess regardless of the manner of his departure, this is a big moment. He's a sit-in shadow cabinet minister.
Not anymore.
But he was one of the biggest faces of the party. Is this going to give you a bit bigger battle on the right with Reform? Like, once the dust settles and you have clearly taken your advantage today and you've kind of shot the fox, or if that's the phrase, but is it a bigger battle for you in the longer term? Are you worried about it?
No, of course I'm not worried. This is what politics is. It's about taking difficult decisions.
Soon after that, this.
I just want to say thank you to Kemi Badenoch.
Farage back in London.
You've handed me on a plate the man that is by far the most popular figure. I will welcome Robert Jenrick into this room and into Reform UK.
But rather awkwardly, his new recruit was nowhere to be seen.
He hasn't changed his mind, has he? We can't find him. Here he is, Robert Jenrick.
When Jenrick did finally arrive to clear relief, he didn't pull any punches.
The two main parties are rotten. They are no longer fit for purpose. They both broke Britain, and neither can fix it. It's a conclusion about the Conservative Party that has pained me to reach, because I've been a member of this party since I was 16 years old. I've served it for most of my adult life. I can't, in good conscience, stick with a party that's failed so badly, that isn't sorry, that hasn't changed, that I know in my heart can't deliver what's needed. That is why I resolved to leave. Because Nigel has stood consistently and very often alone for what's needed.
Jenrick's defection should have been a mega moment for Nigel Farage, but Badenoch has managed to turn a crisis into an opportunity by forcing Robert Jenrick out on her terms. In doing so, she's reasserted her political authority over her party and got rid of a leadership rival who has been snapping at her heels for months. So in the short term, it's a win. But the bigger picture is all about a Conservative Party trying to fight off Nigel Farage and Reform, not only in the polls, but in the heart of the Conservative Party as well.
Thank you all very much.
It may have been messy, but Jenrick's defection is a landmark moment in the battle for the right. The biggest splash in the steady drip of defections, he's unlikely to be the last. Beth Rigby, Sky News, Edinburgh.
Well, it's been quite the day. Sky's chief political correspondent John Craig has been following it from Westminster for us. So, John, who do you think is the winner from today?
Well, at lunchtime, it looked as though Kemi Badenoch might be the winner because, as Beth was describing, she'd forced out Robert Jenrick, flushed him out, if you like, rumbled him with his defection plans and acted swiftly and decisively, smack of firm government and all that, seen off a rival. But, of course, later on, as the day went on, when Robert Jenrick finally appeared, late, as we saw, at that news conference with Mr Farage at 4:30 in the afternoon, he hit back in blistering fashion, really strongly attacking Labour, but more so the Conservatives as well, particularly wounding attacks. For example, Kemi Badenoch talked earlier in the day about him torching the Tories. Well, he torched them in a number of ways. First of all, he talked about a cabinet meeting in which they talked about stopping the boats, and he claimed that at the cabinet meeting they all said it wasn't going to work. Some of them joked about it. Then he said at a shadow cabinet meeting they discussed whether Britain was broken. Only 2 agreed that it was. The rest said no, it isn't, and a few said, well, it is, but we can't say so. He hit out at Mel Stride over welfare. He hit out at Priti Patel over immigration. Robert Jenrick also revealed that he started courting the Reform UK in September, before that Tory conference when he pulled out a box and donned a judge's wig. So clearly his treachery has been going on for several months. Some would say it's been going on ever since Kemi Badenoch became leader. She certainly seems to think that. The other disclosure, really, from Mr Farage that was interesting was that he said on May the 7th, the doors are closed, no more defections. He talked about a Labour defection next week. And he also, there was also another disclosure at that the news conference came from the Daily Telegraph columnist Camilla Tominey, who claimed that Mr Jenrick had told her as recently as Friday he was never going to defect. So the suggestion is, of course, that he was telling lies about that. Reform are the country's last hope, Mr Jenrick ended by saying. And when he was asked if about his own ambitions to perhaps take over from Mr Farage one day, well, Mr Farage wasn't too pleased about that. He said, people who have fights with me in public don't tend to do very well. A suggestion, of course, that he rules the party with an iron fist, doesn't take any dissent. So if there's dissent, he could be out of the reform as quickly as he was out of the Tories.
Oh, John, you just know there is more drama to come. John Craig has been following this story from Westminster for us today. Thank you. Well, joining me now, Simon Finkelstein, former Special Advisor to two Conservative Cabinet Ministers. Really good to see you this evening. We've just, in a nutshell, summed up what's been quite a fast-moving story today, because for many people watching Robert Jenrick's career, it feels like he's been building up to this moment in slow motion, if you've been following his moves of late, but it all moved really fast today. Where were you this morning when you heard the news, and what was your reaction?
Well, I was sitting at my desk speaking with colleagues about politics, and when I saw the news, and to be honest with you, it wasn't an enormous surprise. I was surprised about the manner in which it happened in the end, and I was quite impressed by the calm and clear way that Kemi Badenoch actually dealt with the issue, because you know she managed to play an incredibly bad hand incredibly well, and I think you know this is a big moment for the right of politics, and you know who knows where it will end up going, but I think so far she has dealt with it extremely well.
She dealt with it extremely well, but it's been pointed out by a number of people, including the Prime Minister, Sir Keir Starmer, that, you know, as I just mentioned there, everyone could pretty much see this move coming. He was almost doing it in plain sight. So she should have acted perhaps earlier.
Well, you know, politics is a game of personalities and timing, and ultimately, even if you think that someone is being on manoeuvres, you need to do it at the right moment in which it looks credible. I think if she'd done it before, I think it probably would have caused an even bigger row. And at the moment, the time she's picked has actually held the Conservative MPs together. It's held the sort of centre-right family together. Most Conservative MPs who I've spoken to and who I've seen in the press so far have been broadly supportive of it. So I think on those terms, you've got to consider it a success of a response.
How does this reflect on the Conservatives? Because this is the second big defection inside a week to Reform UK, of course, with Nadeem Zahawi just a few days ago.
Well, look, you know, it is no great surprise to anyone that there is a big split on the right, and if the right is split, it will struggle to form the next government. And obviously, this is an enormous challenge to the Conservative family. What I would say is that actually this is an opportunity for the Conservative Party. You know, you have lots of people who feel as though their time in politics has either come to an end under the Conservative Party, or have ambitions for higher office in another party. And actually, this is a chance to wipe the slate clean and actually, you know, ensure the Conservative is rebranded as a pragmatic centre-right party focused on the economy and not focused on these psychodramas. And actually, what Reform UK has done is embrace the psychodrama. They're bringing in the voices from the past, and actually, I'm not sure that really signals change to the public.
Yeah, because you know, when you look at the Conservatives and Reform UK, do you see this as being a clear distinction now between the two parties, or actually are they closer than ever? Because, you know, a lot of people may say that the Conservatives are a Reform UK dupe, and if you look at Reform now, they're packed full of failed Conservatives.
Well, you know, what is clear is that actually Reform UK has many people who were part of the broad Conservative coalition over the last sort of 14, 15 years. And it is obviously regrettable that there has been an enormous split, but there is clear blue water between the Conservative Party and Reform UK. You know, the Conservative Party has now actually set out a very, very clear plan on the economy, which is you know, public spending cuts and tax cuts and actually fiscal responsibility, whereas Reform UK at the moment is pretty unclear as to what their proposals are. In the 2024 election, they had an economic plan which was farcical, and actually I think there is a clear space for the Conservative Party for the future, and that is very, very distinct from the Reform UK proposal.
Do you think there'll be any more defections from the Conservative Party? In fact, Reform UK were talking about a potential Labour defection.
I'm almost certain there will be plenty of more defections, primarily because people see where the wind is blowing in terms of the polls, and actually, politics is politics, and people want to be on the winning side. But actually, what we are broadly seeing, really, and I think we might see a slight plateau to that, is that the Reform poll numbers are actually slightly dipping at the moment and holding steady, and actually, Kemi Badenoch's fairly clear leadership this week hopefully will keep people in the tent. But politics is about personalities, and people will try and see where the wind is blowing. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see more defections in the future, and even possibly Labour ones.
Yeah, it's interesting you say politics is about personality. Politics really should be about the people that they are serving, and I just wonder what this does for the image of politics as a whole. Is it a party for the people, or is it a party of self-preservation and promotion, particularly when it comes to, Robert Jenrick? As you said, politicians can see which way the wind is blowing, so they hop over to Reform UK. I just wonder about the image of politics as a whole for people watching this evening.
Well, I couldn't agree more, and I think actually it's terribly unedifying, and actually politics should be about principles and actually where you stand on the big issues. And if you heard Robert Jenrick speak today, he didn't really say anything that actually many of the Conservative front bench would disagree with. So on that regard, actually, it was far more about ambition. But I think the way in which the Conservative Party can revive itself is actually moving away from these psychodramas, actually speaking less about them and talking about the future, and that is the only way to put the sort of the previous 14 years behind us and actually move forward.
Yeah, the May elections were mentioned quite a bit today, particularly by Nigel Farage. He said, look, after May, no more Tory defections, thank you. It's really being seen as a crunch point, isn't it, the May elections? How do you think the Tories will fare?
Well, it really is, and I think Nigel Farage felt as though he had to say that because people in his tent, like Zia Yousaf, are very clearly very unhappy with the idea of former Conservative politicians coming inside the tent. So he needs to hold his coalition together. But look, it looks like the May elections will be very, very difficult for the Conservative Party because the polling isn't excellent. I think Reform will clearly do well. I think the key issue is that the Conservative Party has to hold their nerve and think about the 2029 election, not just the 2026 election, because we've got 3 more years till the general election, and it's really important the Conservative Party doesn't look like the chaos party anymore, and having that stability is just so essential to building back trust with the public.
Simon Finkelstein, former Conservative Special Advisor, thank you so much for joining us on the UK Tonight, reacting to quite the dramatic story out of Westminster today. Robert Jenrick sacked by the Conservatives, then defecting to Reform UK. Well, let's speak now to Martin Baxter, founder and chief executive of political consultancy and pollster Electoral Calculus. Good of you to join us tonight, Martin. So what exactly is it Robert Jenrick is jumping ship for? Talk to me about the state of Reform UK when it comes to polling.
Well, obviously, Reform have been doing very well in the polls since the last local elections in May, and they've been increasing their strength since then. But they have been dipping a little bit recently. It's looked like they've maybe peaked. And this will be, today will, I think, on the whole, be slightly good news for Reform. It will also, I think, be good news for Keir Starmer, because at Prime Minister's Question Time almost every week, he goes through a list of people who've defected from the Conservatives to Reform, and Labour think it's worth mentioning that. I'm not completely sure it is, because I've been looking at the numbers, and every 1% of swing away from the Conservatives, to Reform, moves about 25 seats from the Conservatives to Reform. So obviously, on the right of British politics, if Reform get more votes than the Conservatives, they get more seats. Labour on the whole doesn't move very much, though it declines slightly. As the right gets more unified around Reform, Labour begin to lose a few seats, not as many. So on the whole, Keir Starmer might be slightly misadvised to keep stressing the strength of Reform because it's slightly against his interests. What he needs to do is try and unite things on the left of British politics. The winner under the British electoral system, under first past the post, is whichever side gets the most united. The centre-right of British politics is split 2 ways between Conservative and Reform, with Reform ahead at the moment. And the centre-left, Labour, Lib Dems and the Greens, is split 3 ways, or 3.5 if you count your party. So both sides of British politics have a problem of unity. And I guess Nigel Farage thinks that he has moved a little step forward to uniting the right today. And there may be more defections to come. Yeah,
that leads on to my next question, which was, actually, how much do these defections make a difference when it comes to polling? Because, you know, Reform UK seen as stealing traditional Conservative votes, yet they are having failed Conservative ministers join their ranks. So do people think, hang on a second, what am I voting for? Am I just voting for the Conservatives again? How does it make a difference?
Well, obviously, there's a bit of a balance there that'll be in Nigel Farage's head, front and centre, because, as you point out, there's having some well-known names gets publicity and that helps get votes. But on the other hand, Reform position themselves very much as an insurgent party. They're different from the two big old parties. So if you are filled with too many ex-Conservatives, you start looking like the same old stories. So that's something Nigel Farage will want to avoid, and other Reform people as well. So it's a bit of a balance, but obviously in the case of Robert Jenrick, he's reckoned that the kind of slightly star quality that Robert Jenrick has on the centre-right is worth having, and that will be an asset for Reform. But it probably won't apply to every single Conservative.
I was just talking to a former Conservative special advisor before we started our conversation. He said politics is all about personality, and Reform UK very much seen as a one-man party. Nigel Farage front and centre of everything they do. And, you know, those that support Reform UK buy into what he's saying. They find him believable. You know, he backs up what he says, and people think that he is sincere in what he says. How damaging can that be for a party, or is it the key to success?
Well, I listened to Simon Finkelstein's comments with interest, and I think he put his finger on one very important thing, where he said the economy is important. And in all our polling, voters say consistently that the economy is one of the big issues, if not the biggest issue, every month. And the Conservatives are making some, the beginnings of plans for a proper economic programme. Reforms are further behind. Reform, you know, focuses on the immigration issue and the Nigel Farage personal leadership qualities, but on the economy, where people want answers, the all-Conservative government didn't deliver. The current Labour government is not obviously delivering, but the insurgent parties, the Greens and Reform, don't seem to have coherent worked-out plans either. So the electoral spoils could go to whoever's got the best economic story at the next election, and I think that's all to play for.
Yeah, and again, you know, the May elections have been talked about a lot, particularly today, and Nigel Farage highlighting that. It's being seen as a crunch point now, isn't it? Talk to me about the build up to May and why it matters so much.
Well, it's the first big test of public opinion since the last local elections in May, that there's lots of elections which were delayed last time were meant to be taking place this time. So it's a big, there's county elections, district elections, London, there were going to be mayoral elections. It was going to be a big deal. And on our numbers, Reform looked likely to win those elections and get more seats than any other party, just on a rough calculation we did this week. But many of these elections, about 27, 28 councils, are going to cancel the elections. And some of those are in areas where Reform was predicted to gain a lot of seats. So Reform's gains will be less, and the news impact from the local elections will be less than what it would have been otherwise. Now, some people say that was the Labour government's intention was to do that. Other people are more charitable and say that Labour are just trying to run local government well, and that the election delay is an unfortunate consequence of that. But it is, I think, from a democratic point of view, it's a bit of a shame that so many elections were cancelled without a sort of really overwhelming reason, like a world war or COVID. So from my point of view, I'm a Democrat. I like elections. I like predicting them and counting them and looking at the results. And I think people like voting in them as well. They like to have their voices heard. And so the cancellation of, or the delay of some of these local elections in May is a bit of a disappointment, I think.
Yeah, a bit of a shame, a bit of a disappointment. You know, some have called it an absolute outrage. It certainly is one that's feeding into the political story at the moment, cancelling local elections. But those elections coming up in May being seen as crucial, a real crunch point. Thank you so much for your time this evening, Martin. That's Martin Baxter, founder and CEO of Electoral Calculus.
Thank you.
Still to come here on the UK Tonight, we'll be hearing from the British families who are taking TikTok to court in the United States tomorrow over the deaths of their children. Sky News gets exclusive access to a counter-terror training exercise on board a ferry. And you can find out why Bradford has been included in a list of the 7 wonders of the world.
The best thing about being a Sky News journalist? I'm going to take you behind the scenes here for Election Night Live. They have gone up and up. Being a Sky News journalist. Ed Conway, Sky News, is anyone going to talk to us? Mortgage rates did go up very sharply during your time in office. Here it is. First off, just the scale of what we're looking at. Our data shows it's been happening. Question is, why it hasn't been stopped.
A group of British parents are taking TikTok to court in the United States tomorrow over the deaths of their children. They believe Isaac Kenevan, Archie Battersby, Jules Sweeney, Maya Walsh and Noah Gibson died after attempting dangerous challenges that they had seen online. And in their lawsuit, they say TikTok algorithms amplified harmful content to their pages. Our technology reporter, Mickey Carroll, has spoken to the parents who say this is about holding social media companies accountable and making sure children are safe. A warning that you may find some of their conversation upsetting.
Jules was as far as we were all concerned, a normal, happy, healthy child, presented no mental health issues. There was nothing found offline in his inquest that would lead him to take his life. So there were no mental health issues, there was no sign of any bullying. And so after the inquest, we were left as parents saying, well, what on earth did happen? What made him do what he did? And the only thing that wasn't checked was his social media.
I had no idea that he was on any social media platforms. He was such an active child, and with me, like glued to my hip 24/7. I had no concerns around his phone or that he might be on social media.
Isaac was a very happy child, and gone from that to where we are now is incomprehensible. It's like I don't understand like what he has done to take his life away from us, because he was like all of us, very loving. They're all loving children. They all were loved.
Do you have any kind of message to parents that are kind of thinking about their children's social media use at the moment?
Yeah, stay away. Stay away. If I'd have known then what I know now.
Oh, I say that all the time.
Yes. Hindsight's a wonderful thing, isn't it? I think if I'd have known, no way he would have been able to have. He wouldn't have even had a smartphone. I would have kept it away from him.
One thing that just strikes me so much is you're already grieving, and you're also campaigning and you're fighting at the same time, and that must be incredibly difficult. What's driving you to be able to do that? Because, I mean, I don't think I'd be strong enough to do that.
I think the grief kind of goes on the back burner just a little bit. You're not allowed to grieve.
You haven't started to grieve.
You know, you have that initial grief, that initial shock, but when you don't know what happened to your child, it's very hard to find closure or come to any kind of sense about it all. So you can't grieve. It's there all the time.
If that's the case, are you worried about what happens when you find out? Is that when all of that kind of process starts?
Probably, yeah. I think it might hit us like a sledgehammer once it's finished, I think.
For me, very much so. I don't have any other children. And Liam and I have talked about this before, because Liam also doesn't. And we've said, what happens when we get to the end? What's our purpose? Because I'm no longer a parent. I don't have a purpose. I no longer have my job. I no longer have a partner. I no longer have a child. So when I get to the end of this, then what happens? And I know Liam and I have talked about that before and said, I don't know. I guess we cross that bridge when we get there. But you feel the same, don't you, Liam? What are we here for?
I'm here because my daughter deserves better than this, than to be scrubbed under the carpet without an investigation into why she's died, and her family deserve much more than this too. And every single layer of our government I pay tax into has let myself, my family, and most of all Maya down. So that's what drives me. And of course, knowing everyone else, I'm not the only person on this journey. Wish I wasn't. Wish I wasn't. So I'd call out to anyone. Don't allow your children to engage online.
That's one thing that this whole group, the Bereaved Families for Online Safety, every single one of us are campaigning in different angles, but it's all to safeguard children with harmful content online. It doesn't have to be like, it doesn't have to be harmful. It can be educational, you know, it can be fun, but at the minute, obviously, there's a lot of parents that are losing their children, and safeguarding children should be the utmost priority.
And the support we have with each other, I think, is phenomenal.
Yeah,
you know,
really carried us all.
Yeah.
The days you can just ring somebody and go, I can't get out of bed, I can't stop crying, and somebody will go, stay in bed. You know, you do have days, and we come across as very strong and campaigning, but we have days that are absolutely just, you can't move. You just, I don't want to move, I don't want to do anything, I don't want to eat, I don't want to get out of bed. It's just, you have horrific days. And so although we come across as a campaigner to try and make the world a better place, we're bereaved parents, which is just horrific, truly horrific.
It's the last thing you think about at night and the first thing you think about in the morning.
Yeah.
And every other minute of the day.
We're all broken, but we all put our armour on every single day and we go out and fight.
What choice have we got? What choice have we got? I've often thought to myself, if she'd just fallen over and hit her head, and you'd know what it is that had happened. You just knew what it was that had happened. And we don't know what's happened. And every single thing that I've tried has denied us access to that truth, except for America, which is what this is about. I'd rather not do this. I'd rather I was left to my grief, but I'm stuck in a tunnel and I can't get out.
Well, we've had this response from TikTok to us here at Sky News, a spokesperson for the company saying, our deepest sympathies remain with these families. We strictly prohibit content that promotes or encourages dangerous behaviour, using robust detection systems and dedicated enforcement teams to proactively identify and remove this content. We remove 99% that is found to break these rules before it is reported to us. Well, if you've been affected by that story, you can contact the Samaritans. The number is 116123, or you can email joe@samaritans.org. Still to come on the UK Tonight. Counter-terror police prepare for a possible attack on a passenger ferry. We go on board the major training exercise and bring you the details. And a growing rebellion in the Labour Party over plans for trials without juries. The terror threat level in the UK is currently at substantial, and volatile situations around the globe mean that it is unlikely to be reduced anytime soon. Counter-terror officers regularly rehearse all conceivable scenarios in order to test their response to a real threat. Our Security and Defence editor Deborah Haynes has been given exclusive access to a Met Police exercise that focuses on a terrorist attack on a ferry.
Fearing gunmen are about to start executing hostages, armed police storm the room. It's hard to know who's who, but the officers managed to shoot dead 2 attackers and free the captives.
Go on the floor, go on the floor!
Not everyone's so lucky after marauding terrorists target a cross-channel ferry. This is just an exercise, but it's designed to test the UK's emergency response to a very real threat.
There's a substantial terrorist threat, which means an attack is likely. But what I would like to do is to reassure the community that this exercise is not in response to any specific threat or specific intelligence, nor is it connected to any events either nationally or internationally.
In the simulation, counter-terrorism police board this ferry at Poole Harbour after it came under attack while travelling across from France. Islamist militants have killed and injured passengers and taken hostages. The police try to navigate the multiple decks, heading to the bridge where the captain is being held captive. One attacker down, they search for more. This floor is a particular challenge.
The counter-terrorism police are going into every single cabin to determine whether there are passengers hiding inside or maybe attackers still on the loose.
Officers find an injured woman in one of the cabins, taken hostage by another militant. He's detained. A final standoff then takes place at another end of the ferry.
You can see the counter-terrorism police behind me have been speaking to what we believe are 2 gunmen inside the room over there behind that glass door. They're holding a number of passengers hostage.
Police negotiators arrive to try to end the siege peacefully. But talks break down, and with the militants threatening to behead a captive, the police move in. Everyone playing a passenger is a volunteer.
It was scary at first because it's all quiet, then it just happens like that. It's fantastic, really good, I must say. Well run.
It was acting and that we were safe, but it was still kind of like, how can you say, intimidating.
By making this scenario as realistic as possible, though, the police and paramedics hope to be better prepared should the worst actually happen. Deborah Haynes, Sky News.
A Labour MP leading a rebellion against plans for trials without juries has said he is ashamed of Sir Keir Starmer. Ministers have confirmed those already awaiting trial may lose their right to have their case heard by a jury in a major escalation in the battle over the future of the justice system. Sky's deputy political editor Sam Coates has this report.
Imposing from the outside, Snaresbrook in East London, where justice is handed down for the capital's most serious crimes. This court topped the charts last year for the biggest backlog of cases.
With the rules and the procedures...
This man, a lawyer, a Labour MP and someone who calls Keir Starmer pal.
What kind of cases were you trying?
We saw firsthand during a morning in court, watching case after case, delay after delay.
It's 17 years since you were standing in court defending people. How's it changed? What do you make of that?
I'm gobsmacked. Genuinely, I'm absolutely gobsmacked. I mean, it was chaotic. There was counsel not available, missing from court. All of those things are broken, and it's clear to see.
There were defendants at point, there were no lawyers at point, they didn't know who the lawyers were, there weren't documents, the whole system looked like it was really strained.
A backlog of 85,000 cases. How has this happened? The long tail of the pandemic, but spending on justice squeezed in the mid-2010s. It's still below highs of the last Labour government. The number of days courtrooms are in action, now a record high, but still capped by ministers to keep down costs. The real day-to-day picture hidden. On the day we visited Snaresbrook, 58 courtrooms across England and Wales sat empty all day. That's 1 in 10. The government's proposal, a bit more money, along with major reforms to the right to a jury trial.
Let me be clear, we're not getting rid of jury trials. We are reducing the rights of defendants to insist on a jury trial by making sure that it's the court that's in charge of deciding the mode of trial. And I think that's a really important point of principle.
But the plan is facing opposition from all sides. Carl Turner cannot believe what's proposed.
Why do you think David Lammy, Keir Starmer are proposing these reforms if you don't think they're going to help with the backlog?
Laziness, frankly. Sticking plaster politics. The stuff that Keir Starmer, my dear friend, promised in opposition the Labour Party wouldn't do.
What are you going to do the day after this legislation passes, if it does?
Labour MPs like me are sick to the back teeth of being marched up hills only to be marched back down again. I'm fed up of it. Other Labour MPs are fed up of it. And you've got to concern yourself about some of us saying, I've had enough, I'm off.
Everyone agrees on the problem, but the government insists this is the only response.
As David Lammy said, none of these reforms are going to apply to the existing backlog.
Well, let me clarify something for you there, Sam. Cases that are already in the system where a trial date hasn't been set, these measures will apply to those.
There are reports that there could be some changes, further changes to the proposals that you're putting forward. Is that going to happen?
No. We think the judge-only proposal is robust. It's what they do in Canada. I've got confidence in our judges.
Thousands each day head to places like Snaresbrook, but soon those courts might be changing. A mighty fight is coming, involving a government that has shown it backs down. We wait for the final verdict. Sam Coates, Sky News, Snaresbrook.
Still to come on the UK tonight, why a nature reserve in Bradford has been listed among the 7 wonders of the world this year. And the day's sports news, including why Sir Gareth Southgate believes the authority of football managers is eroding.
Big stories don't always come from big cities. I'm Lisa Dowd and I'm Sky's Midlands correspondent.
You are not getting in this elevator, okay?
The judge made it very clear that she could see no justifiable reason why Sir Koulas wasn't here facing British justice.
I promised I would get him justice.
Free, wherever you get your news.
This is what they're up against. The wind is the really big problem. It is back-breaking work and the smoke is thick. It's been working well. Water levels are dropping, but no one knows what impact further rain will have.
What would you do if this place wasn't open? This is the exact spot in Nottingham where their 19-year-old son, Barnaby Webber, lost his life.
I just think it's so cruel and so harsh.
It's really scary. We're terrified.
In this community, I'm told that everybody knows someone affected by COVID.
Hopefully this will be the last wave.
Sky News gets the full story first. Change seems tantalisingly close in this corner of the UK. Wales was the first to introduce the plastic bag charge. It's legal to let go. Set the speed and take the hands off. It's almost driverless, but not quite. Hans is a highly trained police dog.
The force is incredible.
It's really frightening, actually. This is my patch, my specialism. It's also my home.
The best thing about being a Sky News journalist? I'm going to take you behind the scenes here for Election Night Live. They have gone up and up. Big Sky News journalist. Ed Conway, Sky News, is anyone going to talk to us?
Mortgage rates did go up very sharply during your time in office.
Here it is. First off, just the scale of what we're looking at. Our data shows it's been happening. Question is why it hasn't been stopped.
Coming up, the West Yorkshire Nature Reserve listed as one of the 7 wonders of the world. But first, Mark is here with a look at the sport, and we're talking about Gareth Southgate. Now, the past few weeks have seen a number of high-profile sackings in the Premier League. Ruben Amorim, we all remember him. And, you know, this has led to big discussions about the role of a manager and coach at a club, particularly with Michael Carrick coming in to replace Ruben Amorim as head coach rather than manager. It's all about the title, isn't it, nowadays? But Gareth Southgate's written something quite interesting about this.
He has a rather lengthy, interesting post on LinkedIn, Sarah Jane. One of the key things to have come out of this post from Sir Gareth Southgate is that he thinks football managers' authority in the modern game is being eroded. And he says that erosion is being accelerated due to different roles at these big clubs. We've all heard of them, haven't we? The football, technical or sporting directors and the influence those people have at the big clubs. And interestingly, Southgate says, look, you know, he doesn't have anything against this. He's on board with what he describes as this evolution, but he does reference a power struggle and power struggles in general that led to some of those big name departures you mentioned there. So Amorim, Maresca at Chelsea, Alonso at Real Madrid.
Yeah, it's quite interesting, isn't it? Because as the manager, well, you would say that the buck stops with you, and, you know, that's often why a lot of them get sacked, and they take the coaching, they pick the team. I mean, what do you think of what Gareth Southgate has had to say? Because to me, it almost feels like if their authority is being eroded, makes them more easily dispensable, which I guess, you know, for boards and those that own the clubs, it can be quite useful.
I think it's important to say, look, Gareth Southgate's well qualified to talk about this, isn't he? He's England's 3rd longest-serving manager of all time. He's been there and done it. He's very, very experienced. Clearly, football has changed over the years because, you know, since Alex Ferguson's heyday at Manchester United, things have moved on. The world moves on in many different forms. And in football, that's the same case as well. There's more media responsibilities now. There's more social media. There's more games. There's more money at stake as far as success is concerned. But I think interesting comments from Southgate at a time where he's out of management, at a time where, of course, as well, there'll be lots of big clubs thinking, could Southgate be the man for us? But would it be a head coach or a manager? That is the big question ahead of more sports headlines now.
Well, Evertonians are getting restless. Their team can't score goals and they need a win. The prospect of another long struggle against relegation is already looming. And Ruud Gullit isn't happy at the way things are mapping out at Newcastle either. They're just as desperate for points. So a real crunch match this.
There was some whisperings in the press, but it wasn't. There was no indication whatsoever of the imminent nature of what was going to happen that night.
It happened very quickly. I think I only got told maybe a couple of days leading up to the Newcastle game that the agent was phoning me saying that the club were looking to sell you. Yeah, it came out the blue really. Something I wasn't looking to do. I wasn't looking to move. Didn't want to move for the club.
We were under pressure from the bank to get the overdraft down. We were playing Newcastle and the chairman and joint owner were there and I wasn't there. I wasn't privy. It was news to me when it came through. Newcastle had come in with an £8 million offer. And Peter accepted it.
There were murmurs as the night progressed, and then it sort of reached the crescendo around the half an hour of the game mark, and I was getting bombarded by the press. You know, Duncan's going to Newcastle, Duncan's going to Newcastle. There was a group of fans appeared outside the stadium at the reception door.
A lot of us were in Spain covering Celta Vigo for Liverpool, which was taking place on the Tuesday. The Everton-Newcastle game was the Monday night. We started getting message that Duncan Ferguson was leaving.
I saw Michael Dunford.
Now, Now, a nature reserve in Bradford has been named one of the 7 wonders of the world for 2026 by a global travel magazine. The Bradford Pennine Gateway National Nature Reserve is the only UK location that's made Condé Nast's Travellers List. It's alongside locations such as Banff National Park in Canada and the Faroe Islands. The nature reserve was created in May by Natural England to mark the King's coronation. So, what makes this area so special to be considered one of the world's greatest wonders this year? Well, someone who might know is a local tour guide, Tim Barber. Tim, really good to see you. The nature reserve made up of 4 areas. Ilkley Moor is one of them. Tell me what makes this area so special.
I mean, it's such a stunning area with wonderful, wonderful scenery, fantastic wildlife, and it's just got lots of history up on the moors. It really is a wonderful place to just go for health and well-being walks, hikes. It's just one of my favourite places in the world, and I'm very, very lucky to live very close by.
Yeah, I can tell with a smile on your face, you're fizzing with excitement that this area has got the recognition of this global travel magazine read by millions around the globe, online and in print form. I mean, you know, one of my favourite books is Wuthering Heights, so I have my own sort of vision of the moors. Talk to me about what tourists want to see when they come, because you run tours all over. Americans, Australians come to visit. What do you show them? What do they want to see?
Well, again, when my visitors come over, I do have popular tours such as All Creatures Great and Small locations. People want to go and see the North Coast, but especially up on the moors here. The thing when it gets to the autumn and the September time, when you get this beautiful heather moorland with the purple sort of blooms across it, people want to understand the history about it, because you know, we've got stuff up there from the Neolithic, from the Bronze Age, and you know, to be quite honest, a lot of the Americans are just astounded by having history that dates back that far.
Yeah, very much so. We're looking at some of your pictures now, and it's always the case, isn't it, when you go somewhere of such natural beauty like that, you take pictures and they're great, but they never really capture it. And I know that this reserve was created not just for the King's coronation, but to encourage local residents of Bradford to get out and, you know, mix the urban with the rural. I mean, how many local visitors go up to the nature reserve? Because it's all very well having overseas visitors, but you want those who live locally to enjoy it as well.
Yeah, very much so. I mean, on weekends and bank holidays, particularly when there's good weather, you get lots of people congregating around the famous Cow and Calf Rocks, popping into the cafe and for an ice cream, and other parts of the Pennine Gateway as well, whether it's Shipley Glen or the like, or the moorlands around Haworth. But I think whereas they tend to be around, come and visit more of the sort of main sort of beauty spots, that you don't see as many people actually climbing up on the moors themselves, because it's quite remote up there, and even there are sort of pathways up there. I think people are a little bit nervous about sort of getting lost up there, because it is quite a remote area. The mist can come down very, very quickly. So again, you see more and more people hiking up there, but certainly when you get up there, you feel as though you've got it to yourself some of the time.
Yeah. You can get lost, and of course those conditions change really quickly. And we've only got about 30 seconds together. I could talk about this area all day. A couple of things that people should check out when they go to the reserve, because as you said, it's such an expansive, vast space. You know, what are a couple of things that people really should see?
Well, one of my favourite spots is there's a Bronze Age stone circle up there called the 12 Apostles. It's really quite sort of atmospheric when you climb up there and walk up there. Again, and some of the cup and ring marked stones up there, like the Badger Stone and haystacks that are covered in these sort of Neolithic and Bronze Age markings that were sort of, we believe that they were sort of ancient maps of the area where settlements were. So I'd certainly say there are a couple of things to check out.
Well, listen, thank you so much for coming on to speak to us. I'm just looking at a picture now of the 12 Apostles stone circle, all covered in mist. As you say, it looks so atmospheric and incredibly special for those who visit. Tim Barber, tour guide there in West Yorkshire. Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it.
No problem. Thank you.
Right, let's have a quick look at the weather, shall we?
Dinner under the stars tonight?
That reminds me of our travel insurance.
You mean All Clear Skies?
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors Sky News weather.
There'll be showers for the next few days, some fine weather around as well. Before then, eastern parts of England will be wet and windy this evening, with localised flooding possible. Elsewhere, mainly dry, but with a few showers. The rain and strong winds will clear overnight, but showers will take over more of the south and west. Clear skies, light winds over northern and central parts will bring some frost and fog, with icy stretches possible.
All Clear Travel Insurance proudly sponsors Sky News Weather.
That's all from the UK tonight. We'll be back Monday night at